All right. All righty, going on mute.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, 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 and wake up, everybody. It is your girl, Dr. Alexia. I am back after a long hiatus from the Wake Up Everybody virtual community. It's so good to be here. And today we're going to be talking about, what was one of the jumping off points or the nidus for the creation of the Wake Up space. So we'll be talking about COVID because COVID is still COVIDing. So I can't wait to get into it with everybody. So thanks to everyone who's here joining us in real time, who's joining us by Facebook, and who will catch the replay this morning.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning?
Hey, Adam, how are you?
Every day is a good day, Doctor.
That's right. That's right. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome.
30 talking about all these positive things and positive changes, and the next thing you know.
And by the way, she didn't know at that point that her lieutenant was going to be arrested.
Yeah.
The feds never told her.
And she was surprised just as much as we were, especially having to do the press conference.
Anyway, stay tuned. We're going to keep you up to date on everything. Mike Woods, okay, what's going on in the weather department?
Well, here it's just kind of a mild day. We don't have anything crazy going on. If anything.
Can one of our hosts mute, Anna? Thank you.
For demand, JP
Morgan. Morning, Anna.
Most notable within Delta's release is they say they're.
We have a lot of people coming into the space with the news playing in the background.
Peace and blessings, Dr. Alexia. So glad to see you.
Hey, good morning. So good to see you. So good to hear your voice.
I was wondering who that was. Mama Tisa.
Morning, morning, morning. In the spirit and energy of our beloved Shawnee Renee Benta Gibson, make sure you share that we're on with the folks in your lives, especially if it's someone who needs to get caught up on COVID. If it's someone who has sort of fallen out of the practice of COVID precautions, or has been infected or affected by this virus, definitely invite them into the space this morning. There's so much to cover in the time frame that we've been allotted today. So I just want to make sure that as many hearts and minds that care to participate in this conversation with us today have the opportunity to be present with us in live space. And of course, our Facebook crew, we invite you to come on over here and Zoom if you can, but also drop your questions in the chat so we can address anything that you want to know about or get clear on.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, release. dancing, we're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning, we're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Hey, hey, hey. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back. After our intro, I am Dr. Alexia, triple board certified infectious disease physician. I'm a mom. I am a health and wellness speaker. I'm an author. I am a cancer wellness coach, and I'm a stage 3 breast cancer survivor thriver. And I create healing pathways for total health and wellness, mind, body, and spirit. In the midst of this pandemic, I've also become an expert in COVID-19 and have been speaking and teaching about that from the very beginning of the pandemic, even when we didn't quite know, what was going on. We were all learning in real time, and a lot because of that active learning, because of active research and, ever-changing data and a moving target with a mutating virus, a lot of things changed in the way we spoke about COVID and how to prevent it, and what we know about it now and moving forward to having vaccines and et cetera. There's a lot of information that has changed. There's a lot of differing opinions around COVID-19. And so I didn't feel like, we're so far into this thing and everybody knows what's going on, so we don't need to talk about it anymore. I feel like there's so much going on and so much has changed. And not much of anybody is talking about COVID-19 anymore. And so I felt it was important to come back into the wake up space and, let's have a conversation about it. Like, let's take this opportunity to ask questions, to get clear. Let's do it in a space where we can openly and freely express ourselves, and where we are communicating with care and with love. Because when I'm in this space, I'm talking to my people, to a group of people who I'm directly connected with, indirectly connected with, and it's COVID that really brought us all together. So, of course, a few questions just to sort of get our conversation jump started. And if you would oblige me with a response in the chat, and I would love it if one person would come off of mute and answer the question. So my first question is, have you been infected or affected by COVID-19? And of course, we all have, but I think some of us have experienced greater degrees of the side effects and consequences of living in a pandemic world. So I would love to know about that from anybody. So have you or anyone that you are connected to or anyone that you love been infected or affected by COVID-19? And I would love to invite somebody to come off of mute and just share what that experience has been like. Let's see. Do we have the hand raise option?
Yes, Mama Teresa has put her hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Mama Teresa.
Hey, beautiful. Let me see you.
Hi.
Hi, sweetie. It has affected my life. My father had gotten it. Quite a few people have gotten it, and it was really stressful because couldn't see my father for a while. We couldn't didn't go around him, and I just feel like some of the people, my family members who got it, I feel like they was not taking the precautions, to make sure they were being safe, and just seeing other people, like quite a few people from the church that my father used to go to, they got it too. And I just felt like during that time when they told them, to shut down, they wasn't shutting down. So that really had me really angry about it. But I'm over the anger now, but I just feel like people are still being, not being cautious about it and not, using the proper precautions. So I don't really go out that much, so I feel like it's affected my life because of, like being shut down in the house, and I like the house too much, so I gotta figure out a way to get back out again.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that for some of us, those of us who are introverted or homebodies, I had a great sense of relief initially when they said stay home. I was like, woo, I don't got to go to brunch. I don't got to do this and I don't got to do that. And I love my people, but as an introvert, it's an exhausting thing to get mentally prepared to go be out in crowds and be with people. But the downside of all of that cancellation is I lost also a lot of income. And as did so many people. And I've explained to people that I've had quite of a bit of a survivor's guilt around COVID-19. Just being a physician and specifically an infectious disease physician, I had a really good handle on what was going on, or as much as you could know at the time there was to know anything early on. So I had that understanding. I had the luxury of continuing to work and continue to do the work that I love. I got to help people out in the pandemic, which I think, part of our lived human experience is, being able to give and to serve, and that, I still have fulfillment in my career, while other people were losing their jobs and not able to go out and do the things that they love and not able to produce income. And then I had PPE, I had personal protective equipment, which, in the very beginning, we weren't even clear that, regular everyday folks, that the general public needed to be wearing masks. And then once it was understood that they did, a lot of the PPE had already been purchased in mass by people who were intending to, resell it at a markup. And so it was really scary times. So I think, it's kind of important to reflect on what has happened over the course of this 2+ years that we've been in the pandemic. There's been over 501 million cases worldwide of COVID-19. And over 6 million people worldwide have died from COVID-19. And in the United States, we have surpassed the mark of 1 million deaths of American people from COVID-19. And that is, even in spite of all of our resources, all of the access to information we have, hospital access, access to research trials, clinical trials, and in spite of, us being one of the first countries to have access to COVID-19 vaccinations. But there's been a lot of confusion and a lot of misinformation around that. And so that has, complicated the issue of preventing and stopping the pandemic. And not that, simply being vaccinated is going to, just put everything to a halt, because we know that you can still acquire the virus even if you're vaccinated. But one thing I want us to be clear on is that, our vaccine is not a force field. It's not a big protective glass bubble that keeps you from breathing the air or keeps people who have been infected with COVID from entering into your personal space. It doesn't stop you from going to places where you can be exposed to people who may have COVID-19. But what it does, what it is doing, and what it's supposed to do is keep people from dying and keep people from being hospitalized or having severe infection from COVID-19 and having some of these long-term complications that we know about from COVID-19. And the vaccines are doing that. So an interesting fact that I learned the other day is that there have been 100,000 COVID-19 deaths that were attributed to misinformation or disinformation. So we know that there's been a lot of opinions around COVID-19, and I would love it if you guys would put in the chat, like, what are some of the things that you hear about COVID that make you go, I don't know about that information. Is that true? Is that real? Or what is some of the information about COVID that you personally call into question? Because we're smart people, we're critical thinkers. We are enlightened folks, otherwise there wouldn't be a wake up space, right? But we come here to learn. We're people who are interested in continuously growing and evolving. But what are the things in the pandemic, or what's the information that you've heard that made you go, Because when you think about 100,000 excess people dying because they were misinformed or because they had received confusing information, that's a lot of people. That's really a lot of people. 1 million is a lot of people. 6 million is a lot of people. 500 million people infected is a lot of people. But I don't discount that 100,000 people, and that's only in America. 100,000 American people died as a result of misinformation. So I'm curious about, how do you feel about the information you've received from COVID? About COVID? Do you feel like you have a sufficient understanding about what's happening with the pandemic? And definitely put that in the chat. I would love to see what people's thoughts are around that, and invite somebody to come off of mute and just, share.
Yes, we have a hand raised, Zahora.
Okay, go ahead. Let's see, she unmuted.
Zahora, are you able to come off mute?
There
Yes,
she goes.
I had raised my hand when you first had mentioned the pandemic and how it had affected my life.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, she's my provider, and so she worked for BMW. She was affiliate, a supervisor, and she was on salary. She was a salaried employee, and we came from Detroit to South Carolina on her job
Oh,
relocation. So she started working for this company as a liaison team leader, supervisor, and so when COVID hit, they had to downsize their employees.
mm,
When they started doing closing down stuff, and so she was dismissed because of COVID related, because they didn't have um, enough employees for her to supervise.
wow.
Yeah. So she lost her job, and then she found out that she had cirrhosis of the liver, and
Mm,
so she by her losing her job, she lost
her
her
medical benefits.
insurance, her health insurance,
Mhm.
and she lost her she did get unemployment temporarily, and she lost her apartment. um she had to move out because she couldn't afford it any longer. She don't have health insurance. She lost that, and she's right now struggling real hard, um so she can um be able to get some health insurance for her. She's a liver transplant recipient, and,
Wow.
and so she um, had to move out of her apartment to country club apartments where she lived. She was making six figures, and
Yeah.
and so she just she got this place. She moved with a friend in Virginia. So she's staying there, and then she had to come back here this year, and other dates, for her liver transplant, to see her doctor. I don't know um, how it's being played out now about
Yeah.
she's going to be paying him, but she did mention the fact that she couldn't afford her doctor. So so she
Yes.
doesn't have any income, and she filed for Social Security disability, and they won't even give her money, you know, that she.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. This thing is
Lahora.
no
yeah,
joke, and this is the kind of, financial devastation that I was alluding to when I was saying, so many people experience, such great loss. I'm very familiar with the BMW plant down in, I think it's in Greenville, Spartanburg area of South Carolina. And if you live in that area and you can work for that company, you are set. And so no industry was untouched by this pandemic. And your daughter is a prime example of the folks who are most vulnerable in this pandemic and most affected by the fact that, in spite of the pandemic being ongoing, most people in this country have moved on with their lives. But someone who is vulnerable in terms of their health and medical history, like your daughter, COVID could, really, really devastate her life and her health because she's a transplant recipient and she takes medicines that suppress her immune system. And almost, I think it's upwards of 30% of people in this country have some sort of condition or take a medication, or just because of age alone, that makes them high risk for a COVID-19 infection. Yet, we have been told that we can, drop our masks, we can resume indoor gathering, and we can go back to life as usual. And we really can't. We're not there yet. And if we are going to sort of resume some of, the normal things that we've done, there's definitely steps and precautions that we can take to do that, because there's so many consequences and complications of COVID just beyond having the infection. So, we've gone through a number of iterations or, variant strains or mutated strains of COVID-19. And while for many people, COVID can be a very mild infection, it can be a cold-like illness, it can be a flu-like illness. There are a number of people who will get very severe symptoms. There's a number of people who will require hospitalization, and there's a number of people who will die. And again, we have unfortunately crossed the 1 million mark here in the United States. So over 1 million American people have died from COVID-19. In spite of, in spite of our hospital systems, in spite of our access to care, in spite of our access to clinical trial drugs, in spite of our access to vaccines, which many countries in the world don't have access to any of these things. There are countries in the world that don't have oxygen, and oxygen alone can save somebody's life if they have what we call hypoxia. They have a very low oxygen level. So, I think we know the symptoms, so I won't go over the COVID-19 symptoms, but what I will talk about is one of the long-term complications of COVID, which is long hauler syndrome or long COVID, right? So remember, there are people who get infected with COVID-19 who never fully recover or never return back to their baseline. And those people can have a whole host of symptoms. They can have brain fog, they can have chronic fatigue, they can have chronic joint pains, chronic muscle aches, they can have permanent loss of taste and smell. We're now learning that there are people who will never regain their sense of taste and smell, especially if they've crossed the 1 year mark with that as a persistent or residual symptom. And from the very beginning, I was saying to people, yes, we know not everybody will die from this infection, right? The vast majority of people will survive it, but there are many people who will survive it and at the very minimum, not be able to taste or smell. And think about your sense of smell, right? And what it does for you. It could give you pleasure. It could, sound the alarm that, hey, this food is bad. Hey, your house is on fire. I know a person whose house was on fire, like literally their chandelier in their home was burning up. They did not smell the smoke because they had COVID. They lost their sense of smell due to COVID. It hadn't returned for a while after they recovered, and their home was on fire. It wasn't until so much smoke had built up where the fire was that it was pouring into another room. And she had to go find the source of this smoke, but she did not smell it. You know, imagine you can't smell your own body odor, you can't smell your baby's poopy pamper. You don't have the pleasure of smelling your food, which also impacts taste. And then imagine not ever being able to taste food again, or the taste of food being permanently altered for you. Think about, you know, how important food is in our daily lives, right? It's our source of nutrition, it's our source of energy, but it's also the way in which we comfort ourselves, we grieve, we mourn, we celebrate. We have so many practices and rituals around food. And so the bare minimum is like, you know, if you lost that forever. But then there's also people who have experienced things like heart problems, inflammation, heart attacks, heart palpitations, abnormal heart rhythms, heart failures. People have had strokes. People, you know, have nerve issues. People have lost hair. People have lost their teeth. There's so many ongoing issues related to COVID and related to long COVID. And a significant portion of people will experience long COVID symptoms. Some of it may be weeks or months, some of it may be years. I definitely have patients who are 2 years out still suffering with long COVID syndrome or long COVID symptoms. So it may be indefinite for some people, and we're still going to continue to learn things. People have scarring of the lungs, and now 2 years later, some of those people who had significant scarring and inflammation of the lungs are getting nodules and, you know, fibrosis, which is a thick scarring of the lung tissue that doesn't allow the normal natural ease of breathing because the lungs don't expand and contract like they normally would. So people have chronic lung disease, they're having to get lung cancer screenings. And so these are the things that I want people to know about, because I don't want us, who have been most negatively impacted health-wise, financially, devastation of our communities. You know, I don't want our people to continue to suffer or to continue to go through, you know, this quote unquote post-pandemic life, even though we're not post-pandemic, not knowing and not understanding this information. So we're at 7:27, and I understand that we have 2 hands up. So I would love to take those questions or comments before we begin to close out the space. And definitely we have to do a longer session and really get into this, because there's so much to talk about. You can do an hour-long session about each of these things. Adam, I'll take your comment or question.
Sure. Good morning, doctor. Good morning, everyone. The one thing that I want to touch on this COVID topic is bad people who have bad diet. And the question that I want to ask you is, do you think bad diet, smoking and drinking also contributes to people getting the COVID-19? Because if those things can make people, you know, be vulnerable to all these other health problems, then I just want to know if that's the case, because I read a report on CNBC that McDonald's had made $4.7 billion in 2020. That's during the pandemic.
100%, Adam. Such a good point, right? And from the beginning, one of the things that we were saying to people is that, you know, because we're stuck at home, because we're not able to work, there are things that we can do to mitigate or decrease our risk for COVID. So yes, things like changing your diet and your lifestyle, switching to more of a whole foods diet, right? Eating cleaner, eating healthier, beginning to exercise and move your body more. If you're diabetic, high blood pressure, overweight or obese, right? These are some of the general risk factors that make people more likely to be hospitalized with COVID-19. So if you could do anything to improve those numbers, not that you have to, you know, become a bodybuilder, but just simple changes that can decrease our blood sugar a few points, or decrease our blood pressure a few points, or improve our weight a few points. I gained 20 pounds in this pandemic. And that's a problem. You know, thankfully it wasn't eating McDonald's, but probably eating too much good stuff because it was a means of coping. And you can have too much of a good thing. But yes, in the pandemic with Uber Eats and, you know, all of these ways in which food can be delivered to you, people indulge themselves in food and alcohol. And so, yes, industries that are not at all affiliated with health still profited because they were able to, because people were able to have food delivered or dropped at their doorstep. And in our stress and our anxiety and in our boredom, we use food for comfort. So yeah, an industry as unhealthy as McDonald's could have massive profit in a pandemic when we really all needed to be even more serious about improving our health. That was a fantastic comment. Thank you, Adam, for sharing it. And then we had another
You're
hand
welcome.
raised before we close out. I think it was Mama Tisa.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to tell Sister Her that I'm a disability advocate. Maybe I can assist her daughter, and I'll put my email I'll put my phone number inside the chat. Also, what I want to say is that the way they deal with the masks is like one minute saying don't wear a mask, one minute I just feel like people are just going outside, so crazy without no mask. Like the mayor was just recently out and spreading, they were all someplace and they said over like 60 something people got COVID. And I'm like,
Yep.
people going in places, all these events and people still having like partying and packed parties. And it's like, it's just crazy. So it's like the way that the world is dealing with not protecting themselves is very challenging.
Yeah, it is.
And I also feel like, wanted to say is that, can you stay longer? We would love to have you longer. We don't mind waiting if you can.
As
We'll
long
stay
as
with
that
you.
is okay with
Yes.
my facilitating team, yeah, we can take these last couple of questions and comments, and after we close out, I'll definitely set a time and space to be back, because yeah, there's so much to talk about. So much has happened in 2 years. So much has happened even since I've last been in this space talking about COVID. I mean, we could spend an hour on any one thing, but yeah, absolutely. So the mask mandates, right, are the rules, and the changes to the mask mandates are not based in epidemiology. It's not based in public health. It is a capitalistic decision to end the mask mandate. But because the mandate was ended, doesn't mean that they were telling us, go take your mask off, the pandemic is over. But that is how people received it. The mask mandate should have come with a lot of bullet points that are somewhere in the CDC guidelines and somewhere in what the World Health Organization has to say, but that's not what gets presented on the evening news. Everybody wants to be the hero of the pandemic, including the NYC mayor. And I really feel bad for the guy, because he promised, I'm gonna get your kids out of masks. I'm gonna get you out of work. I'm gonna get rid of these mandates. Let's have a conversation about it. And I'm sure he was well-intended, but he's not a public health official. He's not a healthcare epidemiologist. He's not a virologist. He's not an infectious disease doctor. And so he has a group of advisors, I'm sure, that makes up some of those people, but I'm sure there's also financial advisors, et cetera. And, there was a suggestion or recommendation that, people could take off their mask, but all the bullet points that should have been with that statement were not included. So, you should still wear your mask indoors and in public places, especially if you have close personal contact with someone who might be immune compromised, someone who's elderly, someone who's very likely to be hospitalized or die from COVID, someone who is unvaccinated for COVID. There's so many stipulations that came with that we that were left out, that were not a part of that conversation. And so there was confusion, and people just were happy, they were liberated, they wanted to return to normal, and life is just not normal right now. And the fallout of that was an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases. So cases are going up right now. We've had a steady daily death rate here in the United States. It has decreased a little bit, but we know too much about this virus, and we are too far into it that any person should be dying from the virus. But unfortunately, people are still losing life and health because, again, misinformation. So we need to continue to wear our mask, and I continue to wear my mask. I wear my mask every day, everywhere. And when I'm out in the world and I see everybody just kind of walking around maskless, I'm looking at them and wondering, as I'm sure people are looking at me and wondering, why she still got that mask on. I don't think a trip to the grocery store or the pharmacy is worth risking my life. I have done some things. I've gotten off the block. I celebrated a friend's birthday in Las Vegas, and it took me months and months and months to commit to the trip. And I was like, let me see the numbers. And I went out and I was like, for the next 2 weeks, like, clutching my pearls, like, oh my God, am I okay? Am I gonna get symptoms? I tested, within 72 hours of returning home. But it's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking to get off the block. And I tried to remind myself, like, well, you did what you were supposed to do. You wear your mask, you got your vaccines, you got boosted. And how long can you stay and hide out at home? But I really took into consideration what was my risk, my daughter's risk, because I'm coming home from traveling. What is my babysitter's risk? And we have to take all of that into consideration. I just saw in the chat somebody asked how effective are the masks, and we'll wrap up with that. So masks are very effective. I am an infectious disease doctor. I worked the pandemic from the very beginning. I have taken care of countless people with COVID-19. I have diagnosed a number of people with COVID-19 and been in, an 8 by 8 foot exam room with them for upwards of 30, 45 minutes, doing a well exam for a person. And, somewhere at the end of the visit, they're like, do you know where the PLAT COVID testing site is? Well, why you want to know where that is? Oh, because I need to go get tested for COVID because I had a little congestion and my daughter drives the school bus and her kids was sick. So we got to go get tested. And I'm like, well, first of all, we asked you 14 different screening tests, all of which you lied to and said no, and got in here. We just spent 30 minutes, 45 minutes doing a well visit, and I could test you for COVID in the back. And both of those people who I had been in a very small, closed, not well ventilated exam room ended up having COVID. And that has been the case for people who I know had COVID, and they were coming in seeking testing, diagnosis, treatment for it. And not everybody wears their mask perfect. I've had to physically put a mask over somebody's nose or remove someone from my office because they refused to wear their mask properly and they had COVID. And I've never been infected with COVID. So I have no doubt that masks work when worn properly, and that hand hygiene and keeping our hands clean is absolutely of benefit from us. And, we should continue to do that as much as we can, not just for our own safety and well-being, but for the protective of vulnerable people. Because again, there's so many people who have had cancer, asthma, chronic lung disease, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, organ transplants, who are on immune suppressing drugs or who don't have a normal immune system, who are vulnerable, even though, we as individuals may not be as high of a risk to go into the hospital. And there are so many healthy people, fit as a fiddle, perfect weight, perfect blood pressure, perfect blood sugar, perfect diet, who still have succumbed to this virus or still have long COVID. And so, there's nobody who's safe. There's nobody who's immune. COVID is the bully on the block. Everybody can get it. And so I want to just serve as a reminder for us to continue to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones. Because the other thing is that Black folks are more vulnerable to this thing and more likely to die from this virus compared to our white counterparts, right? We are going, yes, cancer patients should take the vaccine. I'm a cancer survivor, I'm vaccinated and boosted. And we are at risk. Cancer patients are at high risk for more complications. So, we as a community, the stakes are so much higher for us, and we have to be mindful of that. Like, the deck is stacked against us. We don't have the luxury to go into health centers or hospitals and automatically be given the best care and be given the best shot at life. And so I'm always going to be a stand for us taking care of ourselves. I'm always going to be a stand and be open-minded and have that conversation about why there is medical mistrust and vaccine hesitancy in our community, because it's real and it's valid. But I don't want us to cut off our noses to spite our face either. So I want us to do the things that we can to protect ourselves. And, I respect people who choose to not be vaccinated. I don't want somebody to tell me what to do with my body. So if we're not doing that, then of course we want to be wearing our mask and avoiding crowds and staying away from folks who are just acting like we're not in a pandemic, because we are, and COVID is still COVIDing. And, I just want us to be mindful of that and to just keep it in the back of our minds so that we are making sure that we are protecting ourselves, our families, and our loved ones. So I will close it out there. I'm going to ask my lovely host to pull up our slides. And I thank you all for your time, your attention, of your questions, your sharing of your own personal experiences. And let's see, what was that question? Should someone diagnosed with a blood clot take the shot? Absolutely. If you have a history of clotting disorders, you should definitely consider taking COVID-19 vaccine, because it decreases the risk of those kinds of complications like blood clots and long COVID and the MISC in children who get infected with COVID-19. There's just so much to cover, talk about, and think about. So in this space of COVID-19, we are always in the space of sharing with one another and blessing and helping one another. You guys may or may not know that I do have a supplement line, and there's so many wonderful things in my supplement line. It's on my website, which is dralexia.com. To go specifically to the supplements page, you can do dralexia.com/supplements, and it will take you to my supplement site. There's all sorts of goodness on there, things like vitamin D and zinc and B complex and calcium supplements and elderberry, you name it. I have it because I made this supplement with people who are vulnerable in mind. I made my supplement line before COVID, but the things that place someone at risk for infection, or the things that cancer patients or people who are chronically ill deal with include things like immune suppression and immune compromise. So I created the line with that in mind. So if you submit your supplement order before the end of today, before midnight, I'll give you a 10% discount. And in order to give you the discount, I kind of have to back channel it. So if you submit your order, then I will directly reach out to you and give you the discount and collect your shipping information. So you place the order right on my website, but then you'll check out with me for your 10% discount. Next slide, please. Okay. Yeah, so somebody commented about vaccines and people having side effects and complications, and that is can definitely happen. And I think maybe we need to have a whole nother session on that alone, and I would be happy to come back and cover that. So I also wrote a journal for Black men in the midst of this COVID. Here's a copy of it here. So it's called Resilient, and it's a gratitude and mindfulness journal for Black men to overcome hardship and adversity. And what happened to George Floyd and how we observed that and so many other atrocities committed against Black men is what prompted me to write this journal. So I would like to gift it to 3 of our participants. I see we have 27 people in the space, or 26 now. And so what I'll do is I'll pick numbers. And if you're not a man who wins this journal, then I invite you to give the journal to a man in your life. So if you are a winner, and what I'll do is have my my host team count out from our participants based on the 3 numbers. And then I'll have you email me your mailing address so I can send the journal to you. So my 3 numbers are 10, 16, and 21, ladies. And that's who will give the journals to, just based on how people are listed in the participant lists, of course, excluding us. And then next slide, please. So congratulations in advance to our winners.
Denise, you're gonna take care of the count while I close out the slides?
Yes.
All right, we
Yes.
have a video crasher. There we go.
And then my contact information. So I'm pretty easy to find. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at Dr. Alexia. So DRALEXEA. You can email me with questions, comments, things you might like me to talk about or further explore with you at agaffneyadams@gmail.com. And then next slide, please. So love offerings and donation, right? So there's a new monthly automated love offering that you can give to share in the space and keep the Wake Up community going. And they have made it super simple. So you're going to use bit.ly, Woo Love 25, 50, 75, or 100 for a monthly automated love offering in order to support this space and to support our lovely hosts and our lovely hostesses and our lovely admin to help bring us this amazing space and help us keep this amazing community going every single day, because we're serving up some good stuff. We all get to receive and benefit from a wealth of knowledge here. And so we want to share or exchange or give back that energy, or, you know, as Shawnee calls it, my own natural energy yield, our money. So we want to share that with our Wake Up team and our community so that we can keep this space going. So definitely, if you're interested, bit.ly/WUE love, and then the $ you're choosing, 25, 50, 75, or 100. Next slide, please. And then tomorrow, our lovely facilitator, Cheryl Glenn, will be on. She's sharing, Are You Clear? Clarity is a wonderful thing to have. There's so much to get clear on in our heads, in our lives, and what we're up to in the world. So definitely come back on tomorrow for Are You Clear? And that's going to be facilitated by our sister Cheryl Glenn, who is just a light in this community and always here to give and share and educate us. Next slide.
Thank you, Dr. Alexia. I will take over from here and closing out. So welcome to the Woo Nation, all new members. If today is your first time joining us in session, please let us know by dropping it in the chat. We want to recognize and honor you for joining us this morning and invite you to come back again and again and again. This is the Wake Up Everybody live schedule. We're on Zoom and Facebook 5 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 to 7:30. If you would like a notification when it's time to come and hop on one of these platforms, please text the word Woo Nation to 74121. And I'm not sure what's happening here. Are we all seeing the craziness that's happening on my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, I have no idea what just happened here, and I can't move my cursor. Let's see if we can. Yeah, I can't close this.
I'll put it in the chat as well.
Thank you, Denise. So you'll be dropping all of the information in the chat. Is it gone now? All right, so we're gonna move into the next slide. Hopefully we can see it come up. It is the swag shop. You can always shop us at bit.ly/Woo Swag. Shop our merchandise, get t-shirts, sweatshirts, face masks, water bottles. Make sure you get the face masks since they're still effective to wear. And this is how you stay in touch with us. Register weekly at bit.ly/Wake Up Movement. Follow us on Facebook at bit.ly/Woo Community. That is our private page. bit.ly/Woo Nation is our public page. On Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. Find clips on YouTube at bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. And last and certainly not least, you can email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. At this time, I'm asking everyone to come off of mute. Please reign, love, and abundance.
Before you do that, I want to name who the winners are.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Alexia.
Okay, yes, Stacey.
Thank you.
Hold on. Who won? Drum roll.
Okay, so number 10, their iPhone guest, and I asked them to come on video if they could. Number 16 is Mama Teresa.
You know, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Do you accept Teresa?
Yes, I do. Have a son that I definitely would. He just had his birthday, 47. That'd be a great day for him.
21 is Tracy Ann. Can you come off mute and see if you accept?
Oh my God, so happy that I won. My brother is graduating, so I'm gonna give that to him as a gift. And thank you so much, Doctor, for coming.
And the person that's iPhone, I don't see her or him.
Did they sign off?
Maybe they did sign off because I don't see them any longer.
All right, so
we'll do another
one. Yeah. So Tracy Ann, if you email me your address and say, hey, I won the journal, I will mail it to you. My email, agaffneyadams@gmail.com. Stacy said, choose a man.
So, I mean, you have.
Let's see.
I don't mind having a copy because I'm always running into different guys and giving them advice. So I don't mind having a copy. This is Andrea Fisher. Thank you.
Is that Andrea? All right.
Yes.
Well, send me an email, Andrea. And then let's see, we got 2 men in the space.
Right, Brandon and Adam.
All right, so Brandon and Adam, if you're choosing to accept a journal, then email me and I will send you one. How about that? So now we have an announced round number of 5 journals given away.
So beautiful. Thank you for your love and giving.
I appreciate that very much, Dr. Alexia. Appreciate that.
Can y'all put the email again in the chat so I could copy it?
I'll do it again.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank y'all for your time, your attention. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for sharing yourselves.
Thank you, Dr. Alexia.
Thank you, Dr. Alexia.
I'm so appreciative. And thank y'all for waking up with me and with everybody else in the Wake Up community.
Thank you for
Thank you,
your time.
everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Alexia.
Thank you, Dr. Alexia, for this great
We miss you,
presentation.
beautiful. We
Thank
miss
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alexia.
Love you all
Thank
so
Thank
much.
you,
Everybody.
Thank you
beautiful.
all.
God
And
Thank you.
make
bless
sure to
you.
stay healthy and stay
Bless.
deep in
Thank
chat.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
information.
Such a gift.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Love you, Dr. Alexia. Love you, family.
Goodbye,
Peace
goodbye,
and
goodbye.
love.
Have a fantastic day, everyone.
Love y'all. Thank you, Tiffany.
Oh,
We'll
And
see her
goodbye,
soon.
cutie.
She'll be
Hey,
back.
hey,
the support system in here. Thank
hey,
y'all so much.
sister.
Thank y'all. Love y'all so much.
Love you more.
Don't
Not
forget to
be
join us
sad.
tonight at Speak, Move, and Change. Either we're gonna have an awesome time again tonight. Love y'all.
Awesome.
That's right.
Look on Shawnee's page for Speak, Move, and Change registration, family. It's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome. 7 o'clock tonight Eastern time. We love to see you there.
Have
Love
a
y'all.
blessed day, everybody.
Mwah. Hugs and kisses.
I got that kiss, Teresa.